Hi everyone. For sure you can see me very red right now because I was very under the sun. Apparently I needed a lot of Apollo energy today. So first of all, before I explain everything here, I wanted to thank to all the people in Cyprus and the people in Armenia that have been so open to receive me, to be part of the task, that has been asking how can we join, where can we go, where are you going to be, or how can we help in this task. So first of all, I want to thank all of you because of that support. So in a second level, what I wanted to say is that this journey, I am doing it by myself because I want to be alone, because this is part of my own mission, my own task. And that's why I have no friends or anyone. I'm traveling alone, and I decide where to go every second. So it's very difficult for me to say I'm going to be there or here or we'll do this or that. So I apologize in advance for everyone that wants to be part of this physically, but this is not the intention of this task. I am just going with the flow and trying to be with myself the most as possible. So this morning I didn't have signal, so it was impossible for me to actually do a live stream or something to show the activity that I was doing. So I decided not to do a live streaming. Y también porque quería estar más presente en mí y no pendiente del teléfono en ese momento. And also because I wanted to be more present in myself and not with the phone or anything. So I put the phone on recording mode on a corner, and it is like 1 hour and 20 minutes. So I'm not gonna post that, and I'm not speaking. I'm just walking and doing things. So it's more visual than actually sound. So anyway, so I wanted to share what a little bit of what happened today, because it's something that will help in our task for tomorrow, but also it's something that will help in our existence always. So the place that I went to, which it's not I didn't know that place existed. I was called there, so I looked in the map and I went, and it's a group of 3 labyrinths. So the place where I went is right at the border, like right at the border between the Greek Cyprus and the UK. It's crazy, but if you look into the map, you will see the United Kingdom part of Cyprus. So to understand a little bit about this, before the 1974, the UK was like in charge of the entire island. So yeah, the entire island was part of the UK, and then in the 70s, when the UK left, in the same way as happened with Israel and Palestine, the British left. Well, they kept 2 bases, two spots here, but they left, and the Greek took over, but that pissed the Turks, and the Turkish people tried to get the island too. So that's why the UN entered in the middle of the whole thing. Sorry, there was someone sneezing and very loud, and it's funny because I'm in the doctor's hall, which is Asclepius. So he called me, and that's part of the things that I'm going to explain to you now, of why Asclepius, who is Asclepius, and so on. So if you see the labyrinth from above, look in the map, there's this this main big labyrinth which has an eye in the middle, and then the other two labyrinths are the years. One is in blue stones and the other one is in red stones. So it represents the 2 years. So if you see me from in front, like this, you will see the 2 labyrinths here in my ears, and in the middle, the third eye, the labyrinth of the mind. So if you see in the pictures, in the map, you will see that there are many stones. So those represents the teeth. So the teeth are like the columns that creates the resonance chamber. So when you make the vibration with your teeth, is the thing that activates this chamber, the holy chamber. So once I cross the chamber of sound with all the rocks, what I do is to go up into the holy of the holies, which is the Philosopher's Stone triangle. So the Philosopher's Stone triangle is the nodes. So it's the place where you connect with the spirit. You breathe in, and that's spirituality. Spirituality is to respirare, is to breathe. That's the Philosopher's Stone in real, the nose. And then I have on the sides 2 labyrinths, one in my left ear and the other one in my right ear. So I have to take deep breath, close my eyes, and receive through the sounds the calibration of resonance and frequencies. So let's practice this. Before we do anything for our alignment, we have to figure out what is our style. And this is a funny thing, but it's related to Greek history. So style means column in Greek. So this is style. So style means all the columns that hold the spine, where you are. So style means what is your position. So why I'm saying this thing about the style? Because this morning I was sitting and I started to receive the information in this position. So I was like this, but suddenly something or someone told me, what is your style? Like, remember your style. So I had to position myself in my right column, my right position, because it said when you are not in your right position with your column, your vertebra is like pressing on your nerve system. So when there's pressure on your spine, on your marrow, and you have tension in your nerve system, suddenly your brain thinks that you have to feel depressed or stressed or the information. So the position of your body, of your style, of your column is very important in the receiving of the information. So once I find my style, my right position, I have to resound like the bees. So my teeth starts to resound correctly, and it sends the information to my brain. If you try it, so if you try it by holding your teeth above and below, and you hum, suddenly all your skull starts to resound like a bee. And from there, breathing. So when you vibrate in your mouth and then you hum with your nose and breathe in, you take the vibration through your nose. So in this way, we activate the chamber of resonance inside our temple. So the 2 eyes now has to balance 1 eye, which is focus. So the next step as I vibrate is focus. So how do I do it? Well, with this exercise. So the exercise here is I have my finger and I will practice to see it until I see it perfectly. But then I will observe behind the finger. So just whatever is behind the finger until the finger becomes two. So I split the fingers. So what this does is that my brain begins to calibrate my two hemispheres by focusing something. So imagine that this is a temple that has the shape of a boat, and whatever is on the tip is the focus. Yeah, on the tip of the boat, that's the focus. But the captain in the boat, you have to have the focus, but also know how to balance and to position yourself where you are. So if you have this image now, you put the focus ahead, and then with the humming, you create the resonance to calibrate the waters of your inner ocean, which is through your ears. So when you manage to work with the three and calibrate the three of them, suddenly you activate your consciousness. And consciousness is not about morality, it's not about ethics, it's not about being clever or knowing more or whatever, or being more connected or channeling whatever. No, that's not consciousness. Consciousness is basically to acquire harmony in these three labyrinths. When you have this harmony in the three of them. So if you observe a labyrinth, one of the ancient labyrinths, what you will see is that it's a spiral that actually is a mirror in two halves. So basically when we see the labyrinth from above, it's not just a brain, but it's also an apple, or is a toroid. So basically those three labyrinths represents the three goddesses with the three apples. So the three apples are three toroids that are three labyrinths. So these three labyrinths, one represents wisdom, the other one represents love, the other one represents will. So it's related to our three levels of consciousness. So a labyrinth, and this is one of the mistakes we have, is not about being lost on a place, but actually about calibration. So in our cultures today, we tend to believe that a labyrinth is a place where you get lost. But actually, for the ancient ones, and the design of itself of the labyrinth is about mapping your mind, to calibrate your mind. It's a map of memory. So in the myth that I was talking about and I sent you to investigate, is that discord, the goddess of discord, gives one apple to these three apples, to these three labyrinths. And when only one is chosen, then the others enter in conflict. And suddenly, whatever enters in 1 year goes away, and everything that we hear is just a lie. So there's no calibration. The goddesses enter in conflict. So there's no harmony, and begins the discord, the internal discord. So basically the Kundalini, when it reaches your head, breaks apart, and the toroid has no position correctly. So suddenly the two symbols, the snake and the bull, enter in conflict, and everything gets destroyed within ourselves. So what I'm trying to say is that when you go through myths, when you go through history, you start to understand what is happening to the entire earth. That is not about humans. We are just cells on a being that is living all of that. And we are basically cellular memory of something that is territorial, that is much more than just a human. So the reason why we use myths and stories is because the actual conflict and problem in the universe is so big that it's very difficult to actually translate it. So that's why we need stories that are much easier for us to digest. So basically, it's a story related to atoms, and it's so complex that we have to understand the story through myth, so we could actually relate to them as a person. But it's all about a calibration of something that is broken in our perception of time and space. So I'm not gonna go deeper now with that story, but I wanted to share this exercise to calibrate the three. So I am in the temple of Asclepius, which is the doctor, the god of medicine. It's basically the one that took the scorpion and got medicine to heal Orion. One of the most important temples of Asclepius is the temple of Isola Tiberina, which is in Rome. So the island was built like a boat in honor to Asclepius, the physician. So it's very crazy that we relate Asclepius with a boat. But also, if you are in the Aegean Sea, every temple of Asclepius is right beside the Odeon. Odeon means ear, or the inner ear, and it's actually a theater. So aside every theater, you have Asclepius. So it's very interesting because Asclepius, when we were in Turkey last year, he explained us that the reason why the theater is so close to him is because in order to heal correctly, you actually need to hear the story and see the story. And when you see the story of why you feel like this, why you got sick, that's the beginning of healing. The beginning of healing, the healing process starts when you understand the story of why you got ill. So all the stories you hear and see are the stories that tell you about yourself and how can you heal yourself. So the theater actually represents the ear and the eyes. And it represents how we understand the stories. So for example, when we do a family constellation. So basically, what Asclepius did was to make the patient witness the origin of your conflict. And this is why myths, stories, tales are so important for our healing of consciousness. And that's why I tell you things about mythology and stuff like that. So it doesn't matter if you read a book, if you watch a movie, if you listen to a story. The patterns of those myths are going to be there. And they're going to talk about you. And when I say it speaks about you, I'm not talking about you as a person. I'm talking about you as a whole, which is the cells, the chemical elements that compose us, that we all share. So what Asclepius does is to take the poison of the scorpion and redirect the direction where Orion is going, telling it a different story. So tomorrow is full moon in Scorpio. So the mission that I am in right now is to use the poison of the Scorpio tomorrow in the full moon and to turn it into the honey of the medicine and to put it all through the border between Greece, the UN, and Turkey, right in the crack between Greece and Turkey, right in the crack of time and space. And the way to do it is by living that story, like creating this myth, this story altogether. Someone said a specific word there, kintsugi, to repair a crack with gold, but in the Rubik cube. So some of you asked, why did I have a Rubik's cube in the activation, the ceremony? Well, that Rubik's cube belonged to an engineer that is a friend of mine, and the weaver gave it to him and said, "This is the time machine, repair it." So after that, it got broken, and the core got broken. So he had to repair it, and he decided to do it with gold. So he repaired the structure with gold, and he gave it back to me. And that's why I'm using it. So what I'm gonna do tomorrow is kintsugi with honey. Time to go. Talk to you later.